Ladies and gentlemen, before everything, I would like to say that my first thoughts go to the victims and their loved ones. I would like to express my compassion and empathy for them. I specify that a special system has been put in place to support the victims in collaboration with the interagency team, the prefecture and the parquet, the public prosecutor of Carcassonne. I would like to emphasize the heroism of the colonel of the gendarmes who, at great risk to his life, decided to take the place of to substitute himself for a hostage in the supermarket. So the facts remind us once again, in a tragic way, that the level of terrorist threat has not diminished in our country. It is more endogenous today, and it is due to radicalized individuals who are on our national territory. Let me look now at the facts. This morning, just before 11 a.m., as he was running back, jogging, 4 police officers were shot at very close to their barracks by an individual in a white Opel Corsa. This individual shot several times in their direction and wounded one of the police officers. 6 cartridges were found on the site. The author of this act then fled with the vehicle, and gunshots were heard in a supermarket in the town of Trèbes, a few kilometers away. There were some 50 customers and staff in the supermarket at the time. The investigation so far has established that the author of this crime entered the supermarket shouting Allah Akbar and indicating that he was a soldier of the Islamic State, and he wanted his brothers to be freed. He then shot at a customer and a member of the staff, who both died on the spot. The hostages were freed as the result of a negotiation, at the end of which the colonel in charge of the gendarme unit exchanged his position with one of the hostages. The author of the crime then left the supermarket.
Il tirait alors à plusieurs reprises sur le colonel, qui blessait très grièvement. Ces tirs déclenchaient alors l'assaut du GIGN, qui neutralisait l'auteur des faits à 14h20. 2 gendarmes du GIGN ont été blessés au cours de cette opération.
The white Opel Corsa used by the author of this crime, as described by the police officers, was identified on a parking lot, and an association was made with the theft of this vehicle at 10:13 a.m. in a housing project in Carcassonne, during which the author had fired at the owner of the car, who was seriously injured and who has is in a life-threatening condition, and a passenger was also injured. The investigation reveals that he then went to the barracks of a military barracks, where he waited a few minutes, probably in order to wait for some soldiers to appear. He then turned back to the police barracks. In the light of these facts, the anti-terrorist unit in Paris was put in charge of the investigation and started investigating various charges, attempts to assassinate, to kill people in charge of law enforcement and public authority, in collaboration with terrorist movements. homicide, and other crimes in relation to terrorist activities. We then entrusted this investigation to the anti-terrorist unit, along with the General Directorate for Internal Security and the Criminal Investigation Division of Montpellier. Many investigations are underway to try and identify where the weapon came from, how the author of the crime was able to lay his hands on the weapon, and the accomplices he may have had. Nobody has yet been remanded in custody for terrorist activities. The author is an inhabitant, the author of the crime is an inhabitant of Carcassonne. He was born in Morocco. He has been under surveillance. He has been on the watch list. He has also been sentenced by a court in Carcassonne in 2011 for 1 month's imprisonment, suspended sanction, because he was carrying a prohibited weapon. He was also sentenced in 2015 for using drugs, and he was sentenced again to 1 month in prison, which he carried out in August 2016 in a prison in Carcassonne. In 2016 and in 2017, he was being watched. He was being watched by the intelligence services. This highlighted no signs, this revealed no signs that he might act out a terrorist act. And you will be kept informed of any developments in the investigation. Thank you for your attention. Given that the investigation is only at the beginning, I will only be able to take 2 or 3 questions, if you wish. One person has been remanded in custody. It's a person who was living with the author of the crime and has been remanded in custody. I can't answer the second question. It's a question about the victims, about the injured. Yes, psychological support is being provided to the victims, is being set up, as is always the case when there is a terrorist attack in this country, with the help of the prefecture of the county of Aude. The monitoring of this individual, the watch over this individual in 2017, did not indicate any forewarnings, any signs that would allow us to predict that he would be acting out a terrorist crime. We are at the very beginning of the investigation. We'll give you more information later. One last question. A fichier S is a watch list of people who are terrorists or potential terrorists, and he was a Salafist and he was on that watch list. The gendarme who was injured is very seriously injured, and at the moment I have no extra information. He is being cared for intensively. He's in intensive care. That's all I can say at this stage. For the moment, there are no signs of links with Syrian terrorism. We will keep you informed. We are at the very beginning of the investigation. A dozen investigators are on the job. We will keep you informed. The Lieutenant Colonel took the place of several hostages. He, at the great risk to his life, he took the place of several hostages, the Lieutenant Colonel of the Gendarmerie. What is your question? I don't understand your question. The previous press conference concerned a terrorist attack in Marseille, not in Nice. This is the third time I have been involved as a public prosecutor in a terrorist attack.